Hey YouTube, welcome to How It's Designed, and in this video series we're finally going to break down the famous Aston Martin DB9 in Solidworks. It's going to be a little journey. We're going to start with the body of the car and work our way down to the wheel assembly. So first though, I want you to subscribe to the channel and like the video once it's done. Share it with your friends and comment what you want to see next. Thanks. Alright guys, we are going to start on the journey for the Aston Martin body in SolidWorks. It's going to be a long one, so pay attention. So first, we're going to import our blueprints from, if you go on Google, you can type in Aston Martin DB9 blueprint. And here you'll find plenty of specs and outlines for the car, top, front, back views. So you'll want to import that into SolidWorks. And then we want to sketch based on the front, top, and right planes. We want to import the different blueprint views. So if we turn these on, we got the side view on the right plane and so on and so forth. So we'll turn these on like that so that we can start getting the different overall dimensions. And then we got the top view. So we're going to have our different views set up. Let's exit out of this. So to get these imported sketch pictures of the blueprints, basically all you're going to do is you're going to choose a plane to sketch on, go into sketch mode, and then you're going to go to tools, sketch tools, and you have sketch picture here where you can select your JPEG or whatever. So let's plow ahead here. We got these views set up. Now we're going to start sketching over some of the curves using the pictures. We got another plane in the back set up. So we're going to start going over some of these lines on the side view with splines. Just following, tracing some of these contours. And the spline tool, if you don't know where that is, it's right here. Basically, you can just create multiple points to form a different arc. Same thing with this sketch here. We're creating multiple points using the spline tool to create curves through those points, following the lines. And we're going to set these lines up for curves, and then the curves are going to create the 3D surfaces for the car. So our first curve is going to be for the wheel wells. You'll see in a minute. So on the side view, on the front view rather, we're going to follow this curve here using the spline tool. Tangent driving. And then we're also gonna do the arc for the wheel well, and we're gonna use those two sketches to make a 3D sketch. So we have both those sketches, and that'll make our 3D curve. Same thing for this curve. We chose back view again, and then now we're going to select these vertices on the inner wheel arc. Okay, and then that'll give us another curve similar to curve 1. Now we have these two curves. Now we're going to connect this curve using these two vertices down here for curve 3, and curve 4 will be selecting those two vertices. So now we can create our first surface around the wheel using curve 1, curve 2, curve 3, and curve 4. Merge tangent faces. Like that. Hit OK. Moving on to the other things. Basically the same thing, but on the rear wheel now. Have the front plane curve using a spline. We have the side plane arc around the wheel well, and we create curve 5. And then curve 6 mirroring curve 2. Same thing here. We're always just following the curves of the car. So you can see they're pretty similar sketches, both on that front plane. Curve 7 and curve 8, same concept as curve 3 and 4. We're ready to make our other surface in the back using the 4 curves we created. Now we have a little bit, 1% of the supercar created. Now we're going to start creating the side panel. So we are for curve 10. We are going to sketch on the top surface, or the top plane, this outline here using a spline. And then for the side plane, we've got sketch here, which is going to give us this curve on the back using sketch 14 and 15. Hit OK. I'm going to split line among that surface using the sketch on the side plane here, which is matching up to this line on the car. Alright, we're going to cut it through that surface. And then we got, after curve 10, we're going to create curve 11, which is the line above, using the same concept of on the floor surface and the side surface, creating those curves or sketches and creating curve 11. Now that we have our curves, we're going to make another boundary surface. So we're going to make a sketch on the side again. We have a curve now for this one, this line, and we have a sketch now on the side for the back of the car. We're going to create a boundary surface now using sketch 20 and the two curves below. So we got here and here. And we got this edge from this other surface. Hit OK. Now we got that panel on the back. This body is entirely going to be on creating surfaces from curved lines. So once you get the concept down, it's going to be pretty easy. So now we sketch on the side again for the bottom door panel, and on the bottom we have a 3D effect of this curve of the door, and that'll create curve 12. Turn this off. And then for this curve, we're going to start creating the bottom. So we're going to create a surface for this area right here. Got this outline here, connecting the wheel wells. And we got just the bottom of the door here, or the bottom of the body. So that'll create that bottom curve. Now we're going to create. So you can see that we're basically creating curves for this portion of the car right here. So we have this curve created, we have this curve created. Now we're going to create this curve here using sketch 28 and sketch 29. To create curve 14 there. And we're gonna create more surfaces like so. So we have curve 14, curve 12, bottom, and these two edges from the wheel. Skirts, hit OK, make our surface. Now we're gonna fill in the rest of the door. Using this upper curve here. And following this curve here. Create curve 17. Curve 18. We got the top of the door now. And from the side, look like that. Curve 18. We have curve 17 and 18. And we got the downward profile of the door to select. Using this curve here, this spline, okay. So we created curves for these lines, this line, and this line for the door. We're going to split through this surface. Create the other side. So we have, this will be curve 15. The last curve will be on this side for this part of the door here where it hinges. Sort of see, it's hard to see, but that's where, about where the door will be. And then we will create another boundary surface. Creating these edges up here And these direction 2 will be the width of the door, 15 and 16. These edges up here will be the height and depth of the door in direction 1. All right, moving ahead. We're going to start adding on to the back now. Starting with curve 19. We got this profile here. And from the top, we're going to follow this part here. It's going to be right here. From the back, this will be the spline shape, and then from the side we will have this sketch on plane 2. So we created plane 2 to have sketch 46 on right where this panel goes above the rear wheel to give it that slanted shape. And then for this boundary surface, going back to sketch 43 that we did on the side, and this edge, basically selecting that surface edge for 3D sketch. We don't want to get all the way up to the height of the door. Not quite yet. So we got direction 1 from left to right. We have that edge, and then we got sketch 43 on the far side, curve 20 up here, and then from top to bottom we have curve 19 up here. If you look at the design tree, down to curve these edges down here for the bottom. Hit OK. Now we've got our back panel. We're going to start trimming away for the tail lights using sketch 48, following the lights. Using these trim boundaries and sketch 48, hit OK. Now we're going to split some lines using this sketch here. To create that back part above the license plate. So that we can make a surface boundary. Back like that. Using those two edges that we just split the lines with and sketch 50. So you can see it's starting to create the side panels for the Aston Martin. We're gonna have to put in our little spoiler, so we're gonna do a surface trim using sketch 52. Following this sketch. Now we're going to create two more sketches for the spoiler. One from the side view using a spline, and one from the top view following the top spoiler direction. This sketch here, starting from this point. Create our surface using those edges. back, side to side. Looks like we're about a quarter of the way there. So now it's time to do a little bit more surface trimming. So we just created that. Now we're gonna do a surface trim on sketch 56. Create this upper curve on the spoiler. Using this spline. And on top, we've got this curve here. So we're creating the upper lip here. And when we do our surface boundary, we got this sketch on the side. Or sorry, it's right here. And then we got this 3D sketch here. By just selecting the vertices on that curve that we created. That'll be our direction 2. We got our curve 21. 3D sketch at the top, curve 21 at the bottom. Now we're going to look at sketch 60. We're going to start making this upper panel where the gas cap goes. So we got this upper line, and then on the top we've got this spline here following this line. It's going to be this upper portion here to create that curve. So it'll be this curve here. And then from the side, do sketch 64 to close out the back. I'm going to create this spline here. And then we're going to make another surface using those curves. And some 3D sketches. Right here. We've got the sketch using a spline on the side, and then another 3D sketch. Right here. So we're going to use the 3D sketches in direction 2 to give it that outside curvature. And then we're going to use these top and bottom curves for the panel. Hopefully you're still following along. It's pretty tedious stuff, but I think you're gonna like the end result. All right, move. Now we're gonna trim more using sketch 66. Trying to create this rear spoiler. So we selected those 2 points to create that curve. And we did a boundary surface using that edge and this edge and that curve we just created. Now we're going to start the roof. We'll create this curve. And we're going to create this curve as well. Using sketch 67 and 72. So we got that curve. We got this curve. We got this 3D sketch. Selecting point here up to here to give it that 3D effect. Using a spline. Now we're able to create this surface. So you got these constraint curves. From these 3D sketches where we did the splines. And then we got these edges for the boundary. Now we're going to start at the front. So for this curve, we've got this sketch here. In the front with this spline. Notice how we're removing the vertices of the spline to follow the lines using this option here. And then on the top, this is what it looks like. Here, to that vertex. We're going to split it right here. Now we're going to create this other curve at the top. Using that sketch from the top view, and we're going to create another boundary surface using those two curves and these edges. We had sketch 79 at the front, right in the middle. Now we're going to start trimming for the inlet grill in the front of the car. We're going to start creating curve 30. Gonna be up on the hood of the car. More splines. Following the dash line here. Which will give us that curve. We got a 3D sketch with 2 points here. For those curves that we're doing, all we're doing is going to project curve here. Now we're going to add some planes for the hood. Got some offset planes from the front, 380 millimeters. gonna set ourselves up for front. So on this surface, there's a lot going on. In direction 1, we have these curves. Going back to when we sketched below the windshield, and then in this direction, we have these two curves. So on those planes we sketched these 3 sketches. For the hood. Stopping at the edge. Spline 1, spline 2, spline 3. To get that second dimension for the depth of the hood. That's why it's so important to have all the angles turned on for the picture. And you had this curve and that curve. Sketch 82 down the center. For the center of the hood. Add a split line here above the center of the wheel. We're going to start to add panels above the wheels using that sketch and this one right here. Got our plane 6 right at the center of the wheel. on that plane, we're going to sketch this spline here. Using the edge and curve, and then in the other direction we got this sketch, and that edge right here. We add another split line. And we add a couple more curves. Now we've got plane 7, and we're going to sketch using plane 7. Another spline. And use this edge and this sketch and this curve as the boundaries for that surface. Add a split there for plane 8. This is where we're going to sketch. Another spline. We add another plane on sketch 102.